Okay, so let's go ahead and get our tensioner idler arms on. All right, so we got all those done on this one side. So let's go ahead and grab our pin lock. Okay, so with these pin locks, you're going to want to grab your M2x6s. All right, with these pin locks, you just want to make sure, oh, dirty. Oop. Yeah, get a better view on this. That's what you want that to look like. I like the black, the look of the black bolts too. I think it looks pretty clean. So we'll go ahead and flip this over and do this other side. First. All right, so we got both of those sides done. You can see the color difference between the just the regular PLA and then the actual paint. But once we get the tracks on and you get all the shadows down there, I don't think we're gonna notice that these idle wheels are any different. So, excuse me. Gonna flip this bad boy back over. All right. So now we'll go ahead and get our track gear on, and then we'll go ahead and get our tracks on, and then continue on with, we can start the blade or we can start the cab, but we'll see what the hell I'm feeling. But right now, we're gonna go ahead and get our track gears on. So you wanna make sure that when you're doing this, you use this Loctite. And then you'll notice right here on my shaft, I actually ground a groove right here. So what I ended up doing is putting my sprocket on. Let me grab that. So I put my sprocket on, right? And then I figured out where it needs to sit, and you can kind of see the center line in there, right? And you want that to kind of line up just like that. And then I tightened that set screw down, and it made a mark on that shaft, and then I pulled it back off, and then that mark was right there. So I just made a line there. And what that's going to allow me to do is put that set screw inside there, so this won't be able to, one second, this won't be able to slide back and forth like that. You want it to stay right in there. So we'll go ahead and get those tightened on, and then we can get the tracks on. You notice my shaft here is it's actually facing down, so I won't be able to put this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and get this to turn over just a little bit. So we'll grab our wire here, or our battery, excuse me. And what we'll do is we'll just grab like a one of these ends here, and then I'm actually gonna grab. Okay, we're not going to use this end because it's a different one. So what I'm going to end up doing is just grabbing a couple wires. I just have a couple of these wires that I usually leave around. So then what we'll do, we'll throw those up in here. Perfect. Okay, so we got that, our gears on. Nice. This side has a little bit of wobble. You know what? I don't think this is on all the way. Definitely wasn't on all the way. So weird. I guess there's that much play inside the motor here. I don't like that. All right, that's good. We're gonna go ahead and get our tracks on. All right, let's get these tracks on. Let's see. Just gotta make sure I'm putting them on right, so I can look up the D8 real quick. So the tooth faces, or I don't know the best way to explain it. This side of the tooth goes towards the front of the machine. So just like this. So here's how I do it. I'm gonna go ahead and set it on the track. I'm gonna go ahead and actually, I'm gonna lift up the whole machine with this battery here. You could use anything really. All right. So we'll put it on the track gear first. And I'll get it on this back idler. Make sure all the track is nice and straight. We're not having any issues with it. All right. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab, I'm gonna put my fingers right here on the front of this idler, and I'm gonna put my thumb right here, and I'm gonna pinch that idler in. I didn't get enough on there, but I'm actually putting my thing here too. All right, so that's that side. So let's put this other side down. Wish I would have had a little bit more paint. You can see some of the gray in the tracks here, but over time it'll all start to get worn down, so really won't matter. But this is what you want it to look like. Tensioner works really well. I don't think it'll move. Looks good. Tracks look good. Make sure they're going the same way. Looks good. Okay, you just want to make sure that your chain goes on the inside of these rollers here, just like that. And then these idle rollers, they'll sit inside that chain. So flip it around. Let's get this other side done. But yeah, look at that. The suspension. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but because I put the pivot here, you can see that the distance between the track gear and the track doesn't change. It actually changes back here, but underneath it does not change. And that's what we want. And I know that looks really close to the track. I might make a divot inside there, but I noticed on the real machine it's pretty darn close to it as well. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. Make sure it doesn't move. But it's actually got a double bearing carrier. I'm sure you guys noticed that while you're building. And then the long shaft motor. I'm gonna give credit to Lass on that one. I did not know that they made a long shaft motor until I saw his new D6 build, and once I saw that, I was like, ooh, game on. Because the other ones, unfortunately, they're so short, there really isn't much room to get a bearing in there, and then you have to extend this track all the way out so it starts to bend down. But this is muy bueno. All right, now we're getting somewhere, guys. So now we're starting to look like a machine. So this is what you want it to look like. We'll go ahead and start to finish off the chassis, and then we can start to do the blade and everything else. But what I want to do next is, I'm picking it up like that. I probably would normally not pick it up, but I don't want to. I guess I could have done it down here. I just don't want to keep touching this paint, because it if I hold it down long enough, I'm actually leaving like imprints in it. Probably because I made it laid it down a little thick. But what we're gonna do now is go ahead and get our grill, our upper grill, and then I already did this part because I wanted it to be black with this. But you're gonna go ahead and install your grill front using two M3 by 8mm self-tapping screws. Once you do that, we can go ahead and start to get all of this installed. So go ahead and press that in. It should be a nice fit if you guys aren't painting, but because I painted, it's gonna be a little tight. That's that. I'm gonna actually take that back out because I'm a fool. And then we're gonna install our fan first. All right, so we're gonna put the sticker facing towards the inside of the cab. We're gonna grab our M3 by 16mm self-tapping countersunk screws. Countersunk, hopefully you guys can see that. Countersunk flathead. That means that they sit flush to the surface that you are installing them in. All right. So loosen that just a little bit so we can get the other holes aligned. And then we could tighten it down just a little bit, just enough to where it doesn't want to wobble too much, and then we can go ahead and finish this one off. And then we'll back that off a little bit so we can get the rest of them lined up. And then we'll snug them down. And there's that. All right, so we'll go ahead and run this in. Install that. Probably don't even need the screws here. We're still gonna use them though. So you guys are gonna hate me, I know. We're gonna go ahead and M2 by 8s up top, just because those are merely cosmetic. It's not really doing anything. All right. And then the rest of them we're going to use M2 by 10. And it's such a tight fit, I probably could have gotten rid of some of those screws on the side, but I'm okay with a little bit of over-engineering. And then these ones sink in quite a bit. Make sure those call for 8s or 10s. Yeah, we're gonna stick with the 10s on those. Yeah. down here at these bottom ones, I'm going to use some M2 by 6s. Right, let's go ahead and get our grill top. Really starting to come together now, guys. So this one uses M2s down here and then 2 M3s. So with this one, let me just see. We're gonna use the 8s on that one. All this is nearly cosmetic anyways, so we already got the main structure in. These 2 holes are supposed to be covered with the cat logo, the white one up front. I'm gonna see if I can print the decal for it and then stick it on there. When I say print, I mean with an ink printer. And then I'm gonna try the 3D printer as well, because it doesn't necessarily look like a decal on the machine. It looks like like it's a piece of metal or something. So with these ones up top, we're gonna grab some our M2 by 5s, or excuse me, M3 by 5s. Super tiny guys. Oh, can you guys see that? They've been getting me lately. This freaking head, something inside of it here. It looks like a little piece. I wonder if I can get it out. No, I ain't getting that out, so I gotta throw that one away. Trash. Alright. Okay. And then what goes up on top of here, up on here is the hood top. That'll go on the hood, but that goes just like that, just to go ahead and tie her off, or finish her off. We can go ahead and do that for now too. So with that one, I'm going to set it in place. Alright. Okay, so then we'll grab our exhaust, our intake. We're going to grab our handles. Oh, I know how I had these to be glued in, but I know how much you guys, some of you guys don't like that glue. And I don't blame you. Some of it's kind of silly, and my hands shake a lot, so I'm not the best at doing that either. You'll notice that I don't have the holes here either. I made the decision yesterday after I painted everything to go ahead and add holes to these. So what I'll do is I'll line them up and then I'm going to drill them. I'll do that off camera though. That way you guys don't have to sit there and watch me do it. But for now, we can go ahead and start getting these back on. So those are going to use your M3 by 16. Seems a little long. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's right. So by 16, and it's because this top part's relatively thick. Let me make sure I'm doing the exhaust right and the intake right. So the intake goes first, and you'll notice the bulge on, or the little build out on that, and you want that facing towards the side here. down as much as you can. We're gonna do the same thing for the exhaust stack. The exhaust stack faces the same way, so you want this top part facing towards the side here. So that's how that goes. Good, fly. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and start to get our rails on. Again, I gotta drill these, so I'll do these off camera. But that's how that's gonna look, and then you'll just use your M2 by 5/6s to install these. And then these, same thing, M2 by 6s, and you'll go ahead and get those on here just like this, and then go ahead and mount those. I gotta drill those real quick, so I will do that off camera, and we'll be right back. All right, so we got this done. Again, M2 by 6mm self-tapping screws all the way around, so you're gonna use them for this handrail, both on both sides, and then the top part here. So these two, and then those two. And then M3 by 16 self-tapper, any head. And then that's that. One thing I forgot to mention before I was painting is I pushed these in because I wanted these to be yellow too, the grill inserts. So make sure you do that before you paint, unless you want those a different color. And mine are just pressed in. You can glue them if you want, but I didn't need to. I just pushed them in and they're gonna stay, especially after I painted. So this part is done. I'm gonna go ahead and excuse me, start doing the blade. So we'll set this aside over here. Okay, so you should have already done most of this here. So I'm gonna go ahead, try and get this out. I put these screws in place to make sure that the bearing didn't get all messed up. I didn't do it on this side though, so I'm a little curious to see if the bearing actually spins. Okay, so yeah, the bearing still works great. All right, so get this guy, and then our two ball stud ends, and then we're gonna go ahead and add our details here. And these are gonna be M2 by 8. I order, just like you guys know, I order all my Mr. Now Express. Nothing simple. You just on my 1500 bags and I'll buy off. If you got 100, 200, especially more fun ones. We'll tighten the top part all the way. Make sure it's long in there. Alright, got that part done. So now let's go ahead and mate these guys. So these are going to use by 12s. Yeah. So this is going to be M2 by 12mm. And then when you do these ball ends, you have to pay attention. Hopefully I can get it on the camera. This side is there's a chamfer on one side, and then there's no chamfer on this side. You want to make sure that that chamfer goes towards the inside So towards the tracks, right? So towards the tracks. Get one side sorted. We'll do that diagonal. Do this by the bottom corner. We'll snuggle both up. Not super tight, maybe like a millimeter as far as the gap in here. Do the same thing. So I got that same as that button is. Alright. Looks good. Okay. So, got our blade done. And this one's going to be really stiff just because of the paint. So we'll go ahead and work that out. Move it sideways, and then we'll go ahead and tilt it. All right. So we got that side done. Kind of like how stiff that is, actually. All right. Spin it around. So we're going to do this next side. Good. Good. All right. So we're really on. I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna. Yeah, let's get our ball ends on. So these are the ball ends you're going to be printing. The longer one, this guy, goes on the blade. The shorter one goes right here. So you're going to take, I'm using an M2, or excuse me, an M3. These are fine threads by 20 mil. And this is a button head, just because it looks nice. All right. Before you do that, because we're going metal in the metal, and they're fine thread, we're gonna add a little bit of Loctite. And we'll snug that up to where this doesn't spin. Looks good. All right. So then we're going to take our panhard, I guess we can call it. These are going to use M2 by 12 as well. All right, so we'll get it started. All right, I'm going to choose my pretty side if there is a difference. I like this side more. Right. So here's our blade, nice and painted. All right, we're going to take out this screw that we had installed in here to seal out the paint. All right. So we're going to go ahead and install our ball stud. Add some thread lock again. Excess, but a little more won't hurt it. Again, just tighten it down until you want it to be snug. Okay. And we're gonna just spin these a little bit just because the paint is nice and around there, and I know it's gonna be nice and sticky, so we'll just make sure that these can spin freely. They feel good now. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. All right, so first we're gonna take our end here, start to get it in, okay? And we're gonna get it on. And we'll just sit that right there. Right. Okay, so we got that panhard on. Now what we can do, we can kind of get these in position. Just want to make sure they go without any hassles. All right. Cool, looks good to me. So now we're gonna grab our actuators. All right, and I painted these black. Then we're gonna grab our actuator mounts. Hopefully you guys can see that.